The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome in to another edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live baseball show right here on Belly Up Sports. And I'm coming to you still from a temporary location, so hopefully sound and Wi-Fi last throughout the whole episode. I'm Ben Stover. I'm joined as I am every week by the one and only senior writer at BellyUpSports.com, Kevin Wilson. How you doing, Kev?
We're doing good, and we're doing good. Those of us that are Seahawk fans are pretty much in the ditch at the present minute. And but beyond that, that's football. We're not concerned about any of that. We are talking baseball right now, so we can get with it and enjoy it, and we're ready.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to talk about off air about Geno Smith and DK Metcalf.
Yeah, we had a special Seahawks session show that we did on Friday night.
Yeah,
between the three of us that are Seahawk fans in the Belly Up realm. And so if you are interested in that, get over there to the Belly Up YouTube page and check that out. Seahawks sessions. We talk about Seahawks. We talked about what the kind of tacos we liked and just pretty much meandered all over the place. So go ahead and check it out.
All right. Well, tonight, though, we are talking baseball.
That's
Man,
right.
We're inching so close to the season. I'm already in a draft right now. I've got 3 more coming up this week and next week, and a lot of good things happening. So this show is obviously trying to get you ready for your draft. And so we've got 3 topics tonight. The first one, we're going to be setting our first-round draft order, or our draft order for our Belly Up League. And we're going to be discussing first-round strategies with those picks as we pick them. And then we've got the NL East preview. And then we're going to close out the episode with 3 guys that I want on my teams and 3 guys that Kevin wants on his teams, looking into these draft times and things like that. So let's get things kicked off with the Fantasy Burner. All right, Fantasy Burners presented by BellyUpSports.com. Again, there's articles, everything going on. There's football articles. There is baseball articles. There is basketball articles. There's hockey articles. There's even some random stuff there as well.
Yes.
One of our league cohorts, Emily, Elizabeth, excuse me, she writes on The Masked Singer. So there's a couple interesting things on there too. But check it out, BellyUpSports.com. Kevin, we're setting the order for our draft that is coming up. When is that? Monday? Next Monday night?
Next Monday. That's right.
Yeah. And we'll do that live on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. And it's a fun exercise. We go through our entire draft. Let's see mindsets of what people are thinking as they're making picks and things like that as well. But we got to set the order for it. And then we're going to discuss with these picks what our strategy would be in that general frame. So, Kevin, you're going to pull names. I'm going to pull numbers to match this up. So why don't you pull a name first, and I've got a number pulled.
Okay, here we go.
What name you got?
First name is Mike.
You got Mike, and I've got number 4.
Okay.
So Mike doesn't yell at us for cheating. Mike Brown, he's the co-founder of BellyUpSports.com. He had some improvement last year. I was impressed with that. When you get to number 4, Kevin, you start looking through the top guys. What are you looking at number 4?
Well, at number 4, I'm assuming that that Judge is gone. I'm assuming Ohtani's gone, and probably Soto. So I'm thinking at 4, is it going to be either Jose over there in Cleveland, or are we going to go with Mr. Witt out of Kansas City? And I don't think there's a wrong choice in either of those. But I'm thinking, because their shortstops is a deep position. So if that was my choice, I'm going with Jose. That's my thought on that.
I think you might even be looking at Aaron Judge here. I think Witt might go in the top 3. Judge kind of has that, although he's obviously a great fantasy player. He doesn't have that same spark coming into this draft season. Ohtani obviously is going number 1. think Soto's carrying a little bit more spark coming into the season, and Witt a little bit too. But yeah, I think you're looking at Witt, Ramirez for sure, Judge, maybe Soto, somewhere in there as well. I still take Witt over Ramirez at 4. But Ramirez, you can't go wrong with either of those guys.
No. And the only thing that gives me pause with that goes going with Witt, because I think that by the time that pick comes back around, Lindor is going to be sitting there in the second round.
Yeah.
And so I think if you had Ramirez and if you wanted to add Lindor to that, you're set at short and third the whole rest of the draft.
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right, next one we're picking is for pick number 2. Who's your guy there?
Okay, so pick number 2 is going to be you.
Me?
You.
All right. So what's my strategy at 2? Gracious. Again, I don't think you can go wrong, right? Ohtani's going to be off the board. So I'm looking at Judge. I'm not taking Soto at 2. I'm just not going to do it. I'm looking at Judge, Ramirez, and Witt probably are the 3 options that I'm looking at it too, because I can't. Boy, I don't know. I'm scared. I'm scared with Soto and Judge. Honestly, I'm scared Judge's health will fail at some point. Soto, new team, all this hype. I get afraid he gets overhyped a little bit, and maybe he has a down year or gets injured or whatever. Does he take it seriously? Is he, putting everything into the off season so that he's ready, or is he going to come out here and pull a hammy, and have issues all season long with that? Ramirez is the safest pick, but man, at 2, that's tough. I don't know that I can do it at 2.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it at 2 either, but I'm a little bit more bullish on Judge, I guess, than you are. I think unless he's running into outfield walls, I think he's going to be fine. Yeah. And I'm moving him to right, so I think that works out well for him. So if I have the second pick, I'm looking at Judge probably more likely than anyone else.
Yeah, whoever gets the first pick, I'll probably try to talk them into Judge. I'll steal Ohtani at 2. That's my plan. All right, who's the next person?
Next is Ryan.
He's getting number 7.
Okay.
Number 7 for Ryan. So now we're getting down there. I think we're starting to sniff pitcher territory at number 7, Kevin. I know you got burned last year in the first round, but I think we're starting to sniff at at least having the option of going a top pitcher overall, whether it's Wheeler, Skeens, who is the other? Oh, Skubal. Sorry, Skubal's up there obviously as well. I think we're sniffing that, but what else are we looking at number 7?
Well, I think at number 7, depending on how things go, I think that if Betts is sitting there, I'm springing all in for that with his shortstop and outfield eligibility. And I've advocated for pitchers in the past. I think I'm stepping my feet way off of that rail right now. I think 7 is a little early for pitchers. And so if Betts is off the board, maybe we're looking at somebody like Yordan Alvarez, somebody like that. And
Vlad Guerrero, maybe.
Vlad Guerrero, I think's later in the draft a little bit, but you could take him and be happy with that coming into his free agent year. So
yeah, I'm looking at guys. I'm trying to think of like a top 10. I got Vlad in my top 10. Bobby Witt, Mookie Betts, Gunnar Henderson. Too early for Gunnar Henderson?
Well, it all depends because there's been some injury talk about him. And so if he's healthy, then we'll discuss that all day long. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the draft order, and they've got Gunnar Henderson down at number 7.
There you
go. So that would work
but there's health is going to be interesting because this week, there's Garrett Cole.
We're going to get into that, I'm sure, a little bit later here, but
it's going to be fun.
But so Gunnar Henderson would be safe, Betts would be safe, Yordan Alvarez would be safe. If any of these guys,
at 7 too.
There's a lot of people talking about Ellie De La Cruz. That's way, way,
Ooh.
way too early for me.
Unless you're in a dynasty league. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's dynasty, we can talk. If it's redraft, no. Put that in neutral.
All right. Number 5 is what's coming next. Number 5. Who you got?
Number 5 is. Take a look here. All right. I put it together so well. Now I can't get it to undo. Me.
All right, Kevin, all right, smack dab in the middle. Instead of talking players, talk to me about strategy at 5, because you're going to be right in the middle of every round coming back around. Do you like being at 5, or would you rather be top or bottom?
5 is like, the graveyard when it comes to it really is, because you're not going to be able to, like, if you're at the back end of the first round and you're going to get a couple players, and 2 players in the top 10.
Yeah.
And so you got to be ready, because sometimes maybe at the number 5 spot, you need to, later in the draft, you might need to do a little reaching, because there's going to be some guys that are picking, 2 picks before you. And so if there's somebody that you like, maybe you reach a little bit there, not too much, but a little bit. And number 5, if Jose is, Ramirez is sitting there, I'm doing that without hesitation.
Yeah.
And so the whole first round has got to be players. If there's any injury, worries, I'm not taking a guy like that in the first round. So
right. Well, at 5, you've got Judge, Soto, Ohtani, Ramirez, and Witt. I mean, those are your top 5, I'm assuming.
Right. And if Witt's sitting there, then I'm dancing all the way to the jig there. So I don't think that at top 5, unless there's injuries that happen, there's no way you can go wrong there.
I agree. All right. Next up is number 6.
Number 6. That's your dad.
All right. Oh, right after Kevin. So Kevin, and at number 5, you can take Matt Chapman off the board. Dad won't be able to get him. He'll have to settle for Willie Adames there at number.
That's right.
6.
So Dale, if you're watching this, if you want to go ahead and take Adames in the first, you feel free to do so.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that he's not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at guys like Mookie Betts, maybe a third baseman if you like a Manny Machado or a Bregman.
No, that's
a Vlad or a Freddie Freeman.
If number 6, if I'm looking
Corbin
at this
Carroll.
and Carroll, that might be a little rich, but yes, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
And your favorite player in the whole first round, Mr. Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, go for it. Take Kyle Tucker. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so Dale, if you want to take him, feel free to do so.
All right, let's go on. Number 9.
Number 9. That would be Chase.
All right, Chase, there you go. You're set up. You can get Freddie Peralta right there at number 9. Chase plays a little bit with his heart. He's a smart fantasy player. So I don't see him taking a big swing at a Brewer here, like a Contreras or somebody like that. Maybe a Jackson Churio, though. I wouldn't be totally surprised if he snags him at 9 or on the back end there in the second round.
That's certainly a possibility. And, when we're talking about Chase, you can check him out because he's got his own show going on out there in the multiverse.
It's kind of second rate. Not
it
as
is,
good as
it's admittedly second rate. Okay. So at 9, if Tariq Skubal is sitting there at 9, I think you have to seriously consider that.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that personally, I'm glad I'm not in that position where I'm going to have to decide that, because I know if I took Tariq Skubal at number 9, week 2, he'd be hurt.
Yeah. I think really once you get past Betts at 6, I think maybe Henderson at 7, then you start getting questionable on when do I go pitcher, because Tariq Skubal is probably a better value than is a Francisco Lindor or a
Absolutely.
maybe even a Corbin Carroll. I think Corbin Carroll end of the first round is good personally. Jordan Alvarez, those kind of guys. Maybe you love a Jaron Duran or somebody like that. End of the first round, because you get that quick turnaround into the second. You can kind of go a little bit with what you want there, because you're going to get a good guy coming back around. So I would take a screwball if he's there at 9, and then grab an outfielder at 2 in the next round, or third baseman at 2 in the next round, something like that.
I agree with that. So if you decide to go offensive player, maybe when it comes back around, that you could go pitcher in that spot, Skeens or Wheeler that we talked about last week. So you can balance that out just a little bit.
All right. Pull another name. Who you got?
Pull another name. We have Nathan
Nguyen. Congratulations. Pick number 1 for Nathan Nguyen. He was our most improved fantasy player last year. Stepped it up. He's going to earn pick number 1. He's a Phillies/Athletics fan.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that equates, but that's what he is.
I don't know that I can talk him out of Ohtani. I'm guessing I can't. So at number 1, you and I would take Ohtani, no questions asked.
I would do that as well. But, this is where it comes in. If Ohtani is one player, he's the first pick in the draft. Doesn't matter if it's points. Doesn't matter if it's cats. Doesn't matter if there's 10, 12, 16, 20, however many there are. He's the first pick, even though they're pushing back just a little bit about him possibly. They're saying May he was going to take the mound. They're pushing back a little bit on that. But he's going to pitch. Unless between now and draft day they announce he's not going to pitch this year, he's the number 1 pick, and there's no argument that's going to persuade me otherwise.
Agreed. All right, let's move on. Number 8.
Number 8 would be Elizabeth.
She's a Rockies fan.
Okay.
She should not take a Rockies at 8. Again, I look at pitcher. I look at Skubal here. I look at guys, Gunnar Henderson if he's there, maybe a Lindor. I like Corbin Carroll once you get down to this number as well. Jordan Alvarez if he's there. Duran if you got him ranked. Kyle Tucker if you got him ranked up there as well. Those kind of guys. Maybe your first, second baseman could come off the board at 8, but I am probably waiting second round to go second base.
Yeah, second base is a little rich in the first, but second, yeah, we could talk about that.
Okay. All right. Pick number 3 goes to.
Number 3 is Caleb
McChesney. He's new to the league this year, and Boston fan. I'm interested to see how he picks. Again, you're looking at Judge. Well, more than likely, Ohtani and Judge are off the board, so you're looking at Soto, Ramirez, and Witt. Is kind of the 3 that you're looking at there, and I don't see him taking a Jalen Duran at 3. I've never played fantasy sports with him before. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy. I'd be a little surprised at that. This is the kind of people you hope are homer picks, because then it helps everybody else out.
Right, because that would help me out. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right. All right, so number 10, who's left?
Who's left is Brent
Redlinski at number
Another
10. Yankees fan. They're not a good Yankee to take at 10. Again, I love this back-to-back pick, 10, and then 1 in the next round, because I think that's where you take a Skeens. If Skubal's gone, you take a Skeens or a Wheeler at one of those picks, and then you get a good player, a shortstop, a third baseman, an outfielder at that other pick as well. I would not go back-to-back, by the way, starting pitchers at 10 and 11. Just trust me on this one. You don't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe a first baseman, Freddie Freeman, still sitting there at 10.
We could discuss.
Options.
Vladimir, if he's sitting there.
Yep.
I know
Bryce Harper,
Yankee fan would probably rather, saw his arm off than take a Blue Jay, but
he's Canadian.
If he's sitting there at 10, you certainly have to consider that.
Yeah. Brent's Canadian. That'll work.
Right. So, I know he's got his Yankee hat on, so I don't know how that balances. But if I'm at 10, yeah, if Vladimir Guerrero is sitting there, I think that we saw last year some free agents to be didn't have great years. But I think that Vladimir Guerrero is set to have an awesome year coming up. And he wants, what was it, 800 million or whatever the heck it was he was talking about. Well, okay. Well, he better hit, 800 million home runs this year if that's what he wants to do. So,
Oh, that'd be fun. All right. That's it for our Fantasy Burner segment. You've got our first round strategies down. Next week, again, on Monday night, we're going to be doing our draft live, and you can tune in to see, and we'll bring some of these guys on to talk through their strategies at some point in the draft as well, and see if they'll share some reasoning behind. Me and Kevin share a lot of our thoughts during that draft. We don't hide much of anything, if anything, in that. We're pretty open on it. So I think it's a good listen. It's a long listen, but I think it's a good one as well. So tune into that next week. All right, let's move on to segment number 2. We call it the Hot Corner. The Hot Corner is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code BELLYUP to get 15% off your purchase. Let's dive right into the NL East preview, and then we'll talk some news maybe after that is done. So let's get things kicked off with the Atlanta Braves, who I'm really high on this year, Kevin, and mainly because they were so injured last year, so beat up last year, that I really feel like they're due for a big season this season. Their rotation currently looks like Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Spencer Schwellenbach, Grant Holmes, and Ian Anderson. They've got Spencer Strider, who's coming off an injury, of course, as well, and will be back. I don't know what his date of return is, but I believe it's relatively early in the season. They're planning on him being back as well. When you look at that rotation, Kevin, again, health is everything. Chris Sale is now going to be 36 years old this season, but overall, I think there's a lot of promise in this rotation.
There certainly is, as long as you say it, the injury bug can stay clear. They've got their front of their rotation locked down. I really like Schellenbach.
Yep.
Is that okay? So I really like him. He's a young guy and only 24, had a 3.35 ERA a year ago. So wherever he slots into this rotation, I think that he's one of those guys that you can look into drafting a little bit later on. And so Spencer Strider, whatever happens with him, Ian Anderson, his ERA was 5, so he's gonna definitely have to blow my doors off before I'm willing to get too involved in that. But he has pitched, he's a veteran, so there's all kinds of potential. So if all this works out, they've got the rotation to match their offense.
Yeah, and you look at Schwellenbach, who's young. I'm targeting him in dynasty leagues. I'm in 2 dynasty leagues this year. I'm targeting him in both of those. They also got another guy who's 22, AJ Smith Scheuer, who I believe will get some time. Shaver. I think he's going to come up this year and play. He won't be up right away, but he'll be up at some point in the season. So keep an eye out for him also, because I don't love where they're sitting at with those back end guys, which were Grant Holmes and Ian Anderson, 29 and 26 respectively. Not horrible guys, not like end of the world kind of things, but yeah, I want to see more out of them.
And Lopez over there had a 1.99 ERA.
Yeah,
started 25 games,
25 starts.
Yes, and so he 135 innings, struck out 148. So that's all trending in the right direction. So if we don't expect him to have a 1.99 ERA 2 years in a row, but if he comes anywhere close, 3 or so, Atlanta's going to be great. It's going to be fine.
Agreed. Let's see here. In the bullpen, Raisel Iglesias is the main piece there. He's 35 this year. He's coming off a season of a 1.95 ERA, 34 saves. And then the other guy to watch down there is Hector Neris, who was technically came over from Houston, I believe, was with Philadelphia there for a while. He's a solid piece back there also. Pierce Johnson could see some time there as well. They're not young in the bullpen. Almost all of them are over 30.
Right.
So an older bullpen, experienced bullpen, I don't mind that. It always worries me a little bit, though.
It does a little bit, but they're not 37.
Right.
It's the early 30s, so I think that they'll be fine with that. So it matches with their rotation. So pitching wise, I think they're going to be fine all the way around.
All right, let's go to the offensive side of things. Catcher's a big question mark for Atlanta this
It
year.
is
Sean
now.
Murphy's injured.
That's right.
And so you're looking at Drake Baldwin or Chadwick Trump as your two options at catcher. I don't love either option. Drake Baldwin obviously is young. He's 23, almost 24. So he's the guy I would lean towards in that situation. But interesting to watch. They got the new addition, Jurickson Profar, which we think is a very good addition. Austin Riley at third, Matt Olson at first, Ozzie Albies at second, Marcelo Zuna to spit in his general direction. Michael
There's
Harris.
no way that he's going to match his season a year ago. So let me just say that one.
Yeah, Michael Harris, Jared Kelenic, and like I mentioned before, Jurickson Profar in the outfield. Brian De La Cruz is over there on the bench. Eli White on the bench as well. Nick Allen also. What are your thoughts on? I think they've got a couple injured guys. Well, Acuna, of course, coming back from injury as well, and Sean Murphy, who just got hurt. So, again, I'm strong on this team. I think they're going to be really good, but they need to stay healthy.
They do. And there's just no way that they can be as injured as they were a year ago. And so they're all going to be – I don't know if I trust Murphy very much regardless of what his health is. But everywhere else, though, Ozzie Albies, quality second base, Austin Riley, we've talked about him. And Acuna, if he can be anywhere close. So it seems like odd years are okay when it comes to Acuna. Even you might want to, do a rain dance or something before you pick him. But so he might. I'm not sure when, because they was talking about he was like at 70%. I think it was 70, 80%. So he should be fine. So once all these guys get to going, their offense is could be scary good.
Yeah, I'm high on Acuna this year. He's dropping in drafts. Take him. I'm telling you, I honestly wouldn't be afraid to take him at the end of the first round. I know that's rich. I know you got to trust the process and hope that everything works out, but I'm willing to take that shot. I didn't mention Orlando Arcia, by the way, as well at shortstop.
Right.
There too. He had a really good season last year. These are young guys. Profar is 32. He's the oldest guy. Or Azuna's 34. Then Profar is 32. So this is a young crew. Outside of those guys, Acuna is still 27. Harris is 24. I like the promise that he has. Matt Olson's only 30. I don't know. He feels older than that.
Yeah, well, he probably aged beyond his years when he was with Oakland. So
Atlanta won 89 games last year. Their win total is the highest in the East at 93.5. Where do you sit on that?
I think 93.5 is just a bit rich. So I'm going under on that. Not by much, but I'm going under.
Yeah, I think they're between 90 and 95, which is what 93.5 is. So,
right.
So, I guess I'll go under to play it safe. But I think that's a pretty good number for Atlanta.
If they win 93, they're good. They're all set. So
all right, let's go to Miami, who started off the year great last season, and then, didn't maintain it. They drowned after that. Rotation looks like Sandy Alcantara, Ryan Weathers, Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, and Cal Quantrill is what their starting rotation looks like. They also have Yuri Perez and Braxton Garrett coming off of injuries. I know we're not high on the Marlins, but honestly,
Yeah.
Alcantara's not bad. Ryan Weathers, I've seen worse. Cabrera, 26 years old. Max Meyer, 26 years old. And Cal Quantrell, who's been around a little bit, a few different places, but you could have worse also. I don't know. This rotation doesn't seem as bad as what their record's going to be.
No, but you'd like a lot of these guys to be your back end of your rotation guys,
Yeah.
and not your second and third. I think that from everything that I've seen, Alcantara is throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs in spring training. And so, and you go back 1 year before that, he was lighting up the place.
Yeah.
So if he's anywhere close, then they've got the number one spot locked down. But after that, it's a bunch of, I think, 3, 4, 5 pitchers that are trying to be number two, and I'm not too sure how that's going to work.
Yeah, Edward Cabrera is the interesting one for me. He did not look great last year, 4.95 ERA, 96 innings pitched. But he's got that potential, and that's the one thing you look for. Okay, can he put it together this year? Can he find something? I don't hate this rotation, but kind of like we talked about with Milwaukee, I'd like it better if they were my 3, 4, and 5 versus my 1, 2, and 3. So,
Right. It all comes down to Alcantara.
yeah.
And so if he can be the number one, then they can develop some of these other guys after that. But if he struggles, it's not going to be good.
Miami gave up their closer, so they return only 10 saves from last season. Calvin, I'm only reading this. Calvin Fokker, I believe is how you say that.
Isn't there like a movie about him?
What's that?
Isn't there a movie about him?
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Ben Stiller played him. 3.19 ERA last year, 6 saves and 53 innings. Decent, strikeout rate as well. He appears to be set up to be their closer right now. They got Jesus Tanoka and Anthony Bender, who've all picked up saves in the past. There's nothing good about this.
No, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this at all.
Agreed.
So, that's when you say a prayer and let it go at that.
Yeah. They got some young guys on offense, though. They do not have a single player over 30 that is going to play offense for them this year. Xavier Edwards at shortstop, Connor Norby, who I really like at third, Jesus Sanchez in the outfield, Jonah Bryden more than likely the DH, Matt Mervis at first, Otto Lopez at second, Kyle Stowers at left. I like that pickup, by the way, for Miami, getting Kyle Stowers from Baltimore. Dane Myers in center field, Nick Fortes at catcher with Liam Hicks, Javier Sonoja, Eric Wagaman, and Derek Hill coming off the bench for them. No major injuries for them. Victor Mesa Jr. might see some time this year coming off an injury. Again, Xavier Edwards is interesting. I really do like Connor Norby at third base with his age. He's 24 years old. And I like the Stowers pickup, but there's just, again, not much to be excited about in Miami.
No, there isn't. When your excitement level is Jesus Sanchez, you got to temper expectations a little bit. Although he wouldn't be too badly if, you're in a larger league, if he's one of your backup outfielders. Because he had 18 homers and he had 16 stolen bases. So he can do a little bit of it all. But if you're in a 10 or 12-man league, then I can't imagine having too many Marlins on your squad.
Agreed. 62 wins last year. Their win total this year is 63.5. I'll go ahead and go under 63.
I'm going to go under too because they didn't do anything.
Right.
They didn't sign anybody or any of that. And Alcantara coming back on the team, and that's all. And so it's going to be
there's potential.
There is. But
I'm comfortably under.
If your potential is 63.5, we're not dancing a jig down there in Miami. So I'm going under 63.5 as well.
Okay. Let's move on to the New York Mets.
Okay.
Rotation. They do have some injuries. Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas, and Christian Scott currently injured. Kodai Senga David Peterson, Clay Holmes, the former closer for New York,
Right.
Tyler McGill, and Griffin Canning, currently in line to get starts for this season. And like I said, Manea and Montas obviously will step in when they come back, and I'm not sure when that. Both of them just kind of strained oblique and strained lat here in the spring already. So interesting. What are your thoughts on the rotation and for the Mets?
Even at full strength, this rotation does not blow my doors off.
Right.
And so if they're going to win, the Mets are going to have to win it by offense because their starting rotation strikes fear into no one.
Talk about the Clay Holmes experience. Like going from back into rotation, they are predicting that he's got 23 starts in him with a 3.61 ERA and 164 innings. If they get that out of him, that's phenomenal.
I'm going under on that innings proposal right there. I'm going under that.
Yeah.
And there's been some, notable closers or relief pitchers that have been converted into starters. And so we're going to have to wait and see. But 162 innings, I'm not buying that, even for a half a second.
Yeah, I agree. All right, bullpen. Let's see here. Healthy. They got, let's see here. Edwin Diaz, of course, the closer, one of the better closers in the sport right now. Reed Garrett, Jose Buto, Ryan Stanek. They got some arms there. But obviously it kind of rests on Diaz's arms as far as what he's going to do this year and being fully healthy, ideally, coming back fully healthy now. I don't know. What are your thoughts on
if he can be healthy, and because his ERA was 3.52, you want something better than that. And so if he's what he was before he, broke down at the World Baseball Classic, they'll be fine. And let's see, you mentioned Buto. His ERA was 2.55.
Yep.
So there's something to like about that. So how these guys all jingle together, I think the bullpen is going to have to carry this rotation with all these injuries. They can do it.
Yeah.
But the pitching staff does just all this money the Mets are throwing around. They didn't do enough of their rotation or their starting or pitching in general.
True. Yeah. Reed Garrett as well. He's got a similar style as far as he's a strikeout guy as Edwin Diaz is. I think Buto has the best chance to actually take over that closing role if Diaz struggles again, though. But he's just he's not a strikeout guy the same way that Diaz is. It's kind of a difference in style, but Buto's younger and, maybe we see him take over at some point this season. All right. Offensively, pretty solid lineup, especially at the top. Francisco Lindor at short. Juan Soto comes over in right field. Pete Alonso in first. Brendan Nimmo at left. Mark Vientos at third base. Jesse Winker at DH. Jose Siri comes over from Tampa to play center field. I actually like that pickup. I don't like him, but I like that pickup. Jeff McNeil at second. And then another catcher injury.
That's right.
Alvarez out for several weeks. So Luis
Torrens. That's big.
Luis Torrens is the guy that looks like he's going to take over there. Jackson Reitz is also available. And then you also see Luis Angel Acuna, Ronald's brother, back in the majors this year. Sterling Marte still around, although he's been talked about getting traded. And Tyron Taylor, who I like, former Brewer.
That sounds like the quarterback for the New York Giants, doesn't it?
Yeah, similar. Yes, similar. So you look at this lineup again. I like the top of the lineup. Lindor, Soto, Alonso. I'm big fans of those guys. I don't mind McNeil and Vientos, but Brandon Nimmo, Jesse Winker, that doesn't excite me too much.
No. And Vientos, I remember when we talked about third baseman, I think that I pretty much blindsided you with the pick I made with him. So I'm a little higher on him than a lot of people, and I think that he could have a great year in this offense. And if he does, then the top of the guys get some even more protection. And so the bottom, as you mentioned, it drops off way off after Vientos. So the top half is going to have to carry him, which they certainly can do.
Yeah.
And but the offense is going to have to carry the entire team.
They are. Yeah, they are. Which Jacob deGrom will watch and go, why? Why?
Yeah.
Of all those years of 1 run or 2 runs. Yeah, the Mets 89 wins last year. They're at 91.5 this season. Again, I think like Atlanta, that's where they're going to be. They're going to be lower to mid 90s. I don't know. I guess going over. I don't know. I think 91 is the perfect number for him. 89 to 92 is kind of where I got that range at right now.
Yeah,
Well, I guess technically I'll go under, but I think the Mets will be good though.
they better be good.
Yeah.
So 91.5. I'm going 91, so I'm going under.
Okay. All right, let's go to Philadelphia. The Phillies, they got a strong rotation. Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, and they bring over Jesus Luzardo from Miami as well. I like this rotation, Kevin. You know, Wheeler's getting older. He's 34, almost 35. But outside of that, Nola's 31, almost 32. Sanchez is 28, Suarez 29, and Luzardo 27. There's a lot of hope still in these arms in Philadelphia.
There are, and when it comes to Suarez, you have to ask what kind of pitcher is he going to be? Because in the first half, remember, that guy was just lighting it up.
Yep.
And then the All-Star game came around in the second half, and then it slid off the mountain big. And so if he can be what he was close to that first half, they'll be fine. I like this rotation. I think it's going to work out well for them. Zach Wheeler, I know that you mentioned his age, but for this year, I'm bullish, as we talked about last week. I really like him, and so he we talked about draft strategy a minute ago. Second round would be where I would be targeting that guy, and so that's how big I think of him. And so this rotation has the potential. And they don't pitch in a pitcher's park, so that doesn't help. But even so, this rotation could be the best in the division.
Yeah. Bullpen-wise, kind of an interesting bullpen. They bring over Jordan Romano from Toronto. Looks like he'll be the closer. They got Jose Alvarado, who had 13 saves last season. Matt Strahm had some saves. Orion Kirkering had some saves, as well as a young guy, 23 years old. So, I mean, I don't know. Is Romano the answer as the closer in Philadelphia?
I don't know if he is or not. Matt Strahm had a 1.87 ERA.
Yep.
So that works. Mr. Jose Navarro?
Alvarado.
I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. Okay. So I like him. There's some guys that made 60 or more appearances last year. So this could be a solid bullpen. And so pitching wise, I don't see an issue in Philadelphia.
All right. Offensively, they don't have much of a bench, but they got a solid lineup. Trey Turner back at shortstop, only 31 years old, by the way. Bryce Harper at first, Alex Baum at third, Kyle Schwarber, the strikeout machine at DH. Nick Castellanos is back at 33. Max Kepler comes over from Minnesota at 32. JT Realmuto at 34. Bryson Stott at 27. And Brandon Marsh at 27 also. I look at this team, and as I feel like the window's closing on Philadelphia, Kevin. They got the rotation. They got stars in the offense, but it feels like that window is closing here for this team.
It is, because they don't have a lot of young players.
Right.
Bryson Stott is about the only one that qualifies here, and he's not 23 or anything. And so, we talk about second baseman. He's a guy that you can target later in the draft, and be a part of that Philly offense. And Schwarber, I tried him out a year ago. In points leagues, all them strikeouts is poison. But he had a better season, at least hitting the ball, that he did, because the year before he was off.
Yeah.
He, hit 48 home runs, but struck out 289 times or whatever it was he did. But so in real baseball, a strikeout is just an out. So that's, no big deal there. But I think their offense and that ballpark that goes together. And at some point, Castellanos, you're going to have to say, I'm going to cast you aside. But maybe not this year. But their offense is going to be lights out.
Johan Rojas, by the way, off the bench, 24 years old. He had 26 steals last year. 25 steals, excuse me. But he also hit 243. So it's going to have to find a way to get in the order. It's going to be hard to do it at 243 for sure. All right. Philly was 95 wins last year. They're at 91.5. Again, to me, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves, there's potential for any three of them to be the winner of this division. But they're not all. I don't think they're all going to be at 95 wins. Some of them are going to be at 88, some of them at 90, and the other one at 92 or 93. So I guess I'll go under, but I don't know. I just don't trust this team, Kevin, for whatever reason.
Okay, I'm a little more bullish on it than you are, so I'm going to go over the 91.5. So any one of these three can win the division.
Yeah,
and I think Philly is going to come out on top.
Okay. Let's go to Washington next. And lastly, in this division, I am so excited about this Washington team. This is if I was a gambler, 70.5 wins. I'm going over that. I
Way
love
over.
this team.
I'm going over. I don't see how. This is an exciting team, as you said. 70.5. Somebody must have had too many drinks before they came
it's
out
a
with
drop
this.
from last year. They were 71. They're better than last year.
They were truly awful last year.
All right.
And they had I forget what his name is. They remember that pitcher they had, and he'd come in and give up 6 runs in 6 innings. And so, but he's gone now.
Yeah.
And they've got the mixture.
Let's talk about who's there.
Okay.
Mackenzie Gore, who
Okay.
we both like. Jake Irvin, who's only 28. Mitchell Parker's 25. Trevor Williams and Michael Soroka. Soroka's only 27. I thought he was older than that too. It comes over too. And you look at Trevor Williams, who was with the Mets a couple years ago, 2.03 ERA last year with 13 starts. So he's got to get those innings up for sure. But Mackenzie Gore, I think he is like this close to being an ace. I don't think he's quite there. I like him better as a number 2. But I think he's so close. He's 26 years old. He's got a ton of experience. Last year, 32 starts and 166 innings. His K rate's not bad. His ERA 3.9. He needs to get that down. But, man, I believe in these guys, and I like this rotation, I think, generally for Washington.
I do as well. And my memory was a little impaired when it came to Mackenzie Gore, because I didn't think he was quite as good. 3, as you mentioned, 3.90 is not great.
Right.
But you'll certainly take that in today's Major League Baseball. You'll take a starter with a 3.90 ERA.
Yeah.
And 160 innings. So a guy that's because he's going to be their quote unquote, opening day starter, their ace. And so a guy that you can get also later in the draft is anybody that's an opening day starter you can get later in the draft, you need to pay attention to. So I think Mackenzie Gore's got all the potential in the world.
Yeah. Bullpen wise, they don't have any flamethrowers in their bullpen. But Kyle Finnegan did the job last year. He's 33. He had a 3.68 ERA, but he had 38 saves, which you'll take any day of the week.
Absolutely.
The other guys, the next 2 guys, the setup guys, Jorge Lopez and Derek Law, both 32 and 34, but both sub-3 ERAs, 2.89 and 2.60. So you got veteran presence in the bullpen. Not a lot of young arms currently there, although I'm sure they've got guys in the system that'll make some appearances this year too. I'm looking real quick. 26-year-old Eduardo Salazar, 25-year-old Zach Brisky, and then 27-year-old Orlando Ribalta are guys that you could see coming up and playing this year, but they need to get better than what they were in their appearances last year too. So bullpen's a little scary, but they got veteran arms who know what to do and can get the job done, even if it's not perfect.
I agree. The veteran part of this does not scare me when it comes to this bullpen, because I think they're going to be fine. They know what they're doing out there. And I would have never have guessed that 36 saves, as you mentioned. I didn't think that was what he had until I did the research, but he did have it.
Yeah.
And so I think he's going to be fine. I think this bullpen's going to be fine. So, and these guys are coming as far as their pitching is concerned. And when you talk about coming, we're going to get into some of these guys in a minute who are really coming. So there's a lot to like here.
Well, on the offensive side, you got, again, some really solid veterans. They brought in Ahmed Rosario. They brought in Paul DeJong, and they brought in Josh Bell and Nathaniel Lowe. So when you bring these guys in to piece with these young guys that we'll get to in just a second, you realize, man, they've got it all together. They did the right thing this offseason. They're young guys. Shortstop CJ Abrams, one of the top shortstops in the league already. He's going to get better. You're going to see him. He's consistently going to be that top.
He better get better. That's all I'll say about that.
Then let's see here. Second base, Luis Garcia Jr., 24 years old. Let's see your third base, Paul DeJong's there. Outfield, Dylan Cruz, 23. James Wood, 22. And Jacob Young, 25. All three of these guys have the potential to be studs. And you throw in those veterans of Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Bell, and Paul DeJong, and Ahmed Rosario too. It just gives you that glue that you need to help these young guys take that next step forward. I love what Washington did this offseason. And like I said, I think they're sniffing 80 wins. I think they're in the upper 70s this year. And who knows? Maybe they make an addition, at the All-Star break and help their bullpen or help their rotation. Next thing you know, like a Dylan Cease or somebody like that, that's like, whoa, where did that come from? Arizona's got some guys maybe they can get rid of, those kinds of things. The Dodgers have all kinds of pitchers. Maybe they get rid of somebody. Like, there is potential for this team to be an 80-win team this year, although I don't think they're going to hit 80. I think they have that kind of potential this season. I love this Washington team.
I do as well. And, you're talking about Young and, only 3 homers. What's impressive about this guy? Well, 33 stolen bases. And he's 25.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. It's 24, 24, 23, 22. Those are the ages of their core starters.
Yeah.
And so if they can keep these guys and because Washington did that once before where they signed some players earlier in their career. So if they can do that, get this core and mature them, Washington's on their way to having something special going on over there.
I agree. All right. That's the NL East preview. We've gone through every team. So if you've missed previous episodes, go back to the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball podcast on Apple or Spotify, or the Belly Up YouTube channel has all these as well. You can go back and listen to the other previews that we did throughout the season. The segment Hot Corner presented by Righteous Felon Jerky, righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code BELLYUP to get 15% off your purchase. All right, let's go into segment number 3, our fantasy focus. All right, Kevin, Fantasy Focus presented by SeatGeek, SeatGeek.com. Use the promo code BELLYUPSports. You get $20 off your first purchase. 3 guys that we got to have. We want on our roster. Typically, these are not the top tier guys, although I've got one guy that's a little bit top tier this time around as well. But start off, Kevin, who's one of the guys that you'd like to see on your roster?
Well, anyone that's been watching this show will find no surprise that my number one guy that I'm targeting, and any draft that I'm in is the guy that's going to be up the street from me, and that's Jake Berger over there in Texas, the Rangers. And I was doing some research. I'm getting ready to put out an article about this very subject. And, we just talked about Nathaniel Lowe. And every that I've seen, fantasy guide or whatever, has a Lowe ranked higher than Berger. That makes no sense whatsoever to me. We like the Washington offense, but don't like it nearly as much as the Texas Ranger offense is going to be. And he hit 29 home runs over there in Death Valley in Miami, and he was on death's door down there in Miami, and he got rescued. And so, if he hit 29 homers in Miami, he can hit 35 or more in Texas. So I really don't understand this because let's see, Fantasy Pros has him at 118. ESPN's even worse at 198. So you're telling me that you can get a guy that's first, third, and DH, qualified at round 19? I'm all in. I'm absolutely in on this guy.
I like it. I'm going to go with a young guy that not only I am in dynasty leagues, but not only dynasty, I'm going for him in every league I can. And it's outfielder for the New York Yankees, Jason Dominguez. I'm so excited about this guy, the opportunity that he's going to get. He's young, so he doesn't have some of those same risks that some of the other guys have. You got to be a little careful just with some of the things that you're seeing at 22 years old. There's going to be some plate issues. There's going to be some strikeouts, probably going to have some average issues, whatever it may be. But he's going to get the opportunity to be every day for the Yankees, and that lineup with his potential. Sign me up for Jason Dominguez. I like him in every league that I'm in.
Especially now that you're hearing that Stanton is returning to New York. Because when I posted his name on Reddit, the overwhelming response was that Jason Dominguez is a horrible outfielder defensively.
Yeah.
Okay. But if he's at the DH spot, then that's no longer a concern.
Right.
And so I've at least talked about him at least twice already. Yeah. So I'm all down with him.
All right, cool. Who else you got?
So the other guy that, he's not new. He's a veteran, but he's the pitcher down there in Tampa. And we've talked about avoiding the Tampa Bay Rays pitchers for reasons, that are good. But Shane McClanahan is not in that rut because, first of all, he's a left-handed pitcher. So he doesn't have to worry about that short right field porch that they're going to have to play in down there in the New York Yankees park. And so, of course, he was injured last year, but everything that it looks good. If he's already been announced as their opening day starter for the Rays. And so Fantasy Pros has him at 125. And once again, ESPN, I don't know where ESPN, they need to submit themselves a drug analysis immediately. They've got him ranked at 240th overall.
Oh, wow.
So you're telling me that a number one starter on a team is only worth the 240th overall pick? Yes, please. I will take that. And if it doesn't work out, you cast him aside and move on, and there's no loss to you. So Shane McClanahan, I'm all in.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go with a pitcher from the Pittsburgh Pirates, Jared Jones. Last year, hot start, didn't finish well. But listen to this. At home last season in 12 starts, he had a 2.87 ERA, 4 wins, 3 losses. On the road, 5.81 ERA. So Jared Jones is the guy I'm in on very much so. I'd like him on, again, dynasty leagues I want him, regular leagues I want him. And a good thing to keep an eye on, as well as his matchups throughout the season, and have confidence when he's there. And is it PNC Park still when he's there in Pittsburgh? And I think he's going to continue to grow. He's young, so he'll continue to grow, continue to get better. He's been throwing a sinker that he did not throw last year in spring ball so far. They're saying it's looking pretty solid. So we'll see if that gets added to the repertoire during the season also. But again, at that age, with the success he's already had, I'm in on Jared Jones.
Okay, so the last guy I'm going to talk about is also a pitcher and one that we talked about in our previous segment, and that's Sandy Alcantara
Okay.
of Miami. So we're going to discount what he did last year, even though 4.14, you'll take that ERA in today's baseball. But the year before that, it was 2.28. He led the league in 228 and 2/3 innings and faced the most hitters of any pitcher in all of baseball in 2023. And so wherever you look at this, his whip was 0.980. Okay. And on Fantasy Pros, he's 147 overall. And at ESPN, they're still drinking down there because they've got him even worse at 251 overall. So this guy can be your very last pick of your draft. And like I said, if it doesn't work out, you cast him aside, no loss. But if it works out, you've got a number one pitcher in the 25th round.
I like it. I like it a lot. My last guy is a guy I've talked about in several episodes this season. Chicago Bears rookie Matt Shaw. He has an oblique injury, and so he may not go to Tokyo and play those games in Tokyo, which I really don't care about. It's 2 games, 3 games, whatever. I don't care.
2.
As long as he gets healthy, he's going to play a whole lot of baseball. He's young. Some places have a lot of eligibility as far as positions go for him. He's going to play third base in Chicago this year, and there's just no one there that's going to threaten to take his job. Like, even with the injuries, as soon as he's healthy, John Birdie's not going to beat him out. Justin Turner's not going to beat him out. They got some other young guys, but Matt Shaw is going to be the guy at third base. I love it right now with this oblique injury. He's dropping. He's more readily available at the end of the draft. I want him on every team I got. I really believe in this Matt Shaw, and that pains me being a Brewers fan. I don't like having Cubs on my team, but I'm in on Matt Shaw this year. I got to have him. I got to have him on my rosters this season.
Yeah, I know that you're in on because this is the second week in a row you've talked about a Cub.
Yeah.
And so, either you got a pretty good fever going on, or you're very serious about this guy. And I believe you're serious about him. So as long as he's healthy, and who cares about whether he plays 2 games in, another continent.
Right.
But, so there's a lot to like about him. There's a lot to like.
The guy I didn't mention that I brought up earlier in the show, you said it was too rich for him, but is Corbin Carroll. I think he's going to have that bounce back season as well. I like him into the first round. I like what he has to offer this year. Bad year last year. It doesn't seem like people are too down on him. I was hoping he would kind of drop a little bit and become a better value, but he's a late first or early second round pick right now. It seems like. But I'm in on him too. I believe he's going to have a bounce back season this season. I think you do too.
I do as well. And if you can get him at the top of the second round, I think that would be an excellent place to get him. But, as you mentioned, he might not even wait that long. So I expect a huge season out of him and a lot of Arizona Diamondbacks, as we've discussed in previous episodes.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Kevin, we made it. Can't believe we made it.
That's right.
I was on a show this week on the Corner Booth podcast, Belly Up podcast with Brent Redlinsky. And we talked baseball a lot on that show, but I had internet issues. I wasn't sure we were going to survive this episode. We did. Which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. Next week, Monday, we've got our fantasy draft for this Belly Up League. So we'll be live on Belly Up YouTube on Monday night at 8:00. Tune in for that. It really is a fun time. We'll bring on some of our league mates and let them chat a little bit and kind of share what they're thinking about during their picks as well. So looking forward to that. Kevin, what do you got going on this week on bellyupsports.com?
Well, Belly Up Sports, you can go there because I have an article where I talk about pitching values, starters in particular, and I get into McClanahan and Alcantara just a little deeper than what we discussed here. and some other players. And as I mentioned way at the start, Seahawks sessions, that's available on the Belly Up YouTube. And so football is cracking all over the place. And we discussed DK Metcalf and all that, and Smith get traded to the Raiders, and you know, we're it's a bloodbath right now for us Seahawk fans. But if you want to check out that episode, go ahead and do that. And I'm going to expand a little bit on some of these targets in the draft that we discussed, and they're going to be in an article this week. So check that out. It'll be hitting the streets probably Tuesday.
Okay, awesome. And of course, you can always follow Kevin at Kevin62 WILSEA on X. I'm planning on having a episode this week with my dad, the Sports Stove Football Show. We have not had one the last 2 weeks. Planned on having one last week, and the internet didn't help me out. We're hoping to get the studio finished up this week. Hopefully this week, midweek, sometime. I don't know when. We'll have an episode come out, and there's a lot to talk about with football right now. So we'll discuss that. Follow us on social media at Sports Stove, and we'll put out the information for that show whenever it is coming out. So yeah, we get the draft next week. Then the week after that, we still have a little bit of just prep work for the season, and then we're into actual waiver wires.
So we'll be able to tell you, does Garrett Cole need Tommy John surgery, as I heard rumored earlier today?
That's why we wait to draft. That's why we wait.
That's right. So if you drafted already, then you took Garrett Cole. Well,
yeah,
you got to live with it now.
Good luck to you. All right. Check out bellyupsports.com, Righteous Felon Jerky, and SeatGeek, and reap the benefits of being a viewer of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. He's Kevin Wilson. I'm Vince Stover. Hopefully next week we'll have better lighting, better sound, better audio, better everything. That's the plan at the very least. But thanks for tuning into this episode. Yep. Check out all the other great shows on bellyupsports.com this week as well. We'll see you next week for the live fantasy baseball draft.
Yep. Everybody have a great week.